Hello there and welcome to Somali Christian Ministries. This is the 47th episode of our series. My name is Warfa. Let's put some perspective in the last episode. We discussed about chapter 7 of the book of Isaiah. So, in this episode, I want to talk about briefly, or as much as I can, details about what happened in the last episode. So, we decided that we will talk about Christmas. Christmas is a special holiday that Christians around the world, most Christians, celebrate the birth of the Messiah on the 25th of December. Now, to put a context on this chapter, we will talk about the kingdom of Israel, because the book is about kingdom of Israel. The kingdom of Israel was established by King Saul, and then was succeeded by David and then Solomon. In the Hebrew Bible, it's traditionally dated that the kingdom of Israel, as united, lasted between 1047 BCE to 930 BCE. On the succession of the Solomon's son, when Solomon's son Rehoboam became a king, the biblical account in the Bible reports that the country split into two kingdoms: the kingdom of Israel, including the cities of Shechem and Samaria, and the north, it's in the north kingdom, and the kingdom of Judah, containing Jerusalem, which is known the southern kingdom. This is the story of the book. So the kingdom of Israel after King Solomon, when Solomon's son Rehoboam became king, was split into two. The southern kingdom, which is kingdom of Judah, that the descendants of David and Solomon ruled, and the capital was Jerusalem, became the south. And the kingdom of Israel, the rest of the kingdom, including the cities of Shechem and Samaria, which was ruled by other kings, or it's known as the kingdom of Israel, became the north. So, when Ahaz, son of Jotham, the son of Uzziah, was king of Judah, King Rezin of Aram is Syria now, and Becca, son of Remaliah, king of Israel, decided that they will invade Jerusalem. They decided to invade the kingdom of Judah. They wanted to occupy and take it by themselves and enslave women and children, and they wanted to take over everyone. So God knows what's going on, the plan of these people. And when the time was like that, Isaiah, the prophet, it was the time of Isaiah the prophet, God asked him to go and see king of Judah, the southern kingdom, Ahaz. So Isaiah went and saw Ahaz and asked him a sign. He said that these people are uniting against you. They want to take over. They want to control you. So, but God is asking me to be careful. Keep calm and don't be afraid. Do not lose heart because of these two smoldering stubs of firewood. Because of Rezin and Aram, because of their anger. Do not fear. And Isaiah asked king of Judah to ask a sign from God. So King Ahaz said, I will not ask, I will not put the Lord to the test. He didn't want to test God. Then Isaiah said to him, hear now, you house of David. Because Ahaz is a descendant of David. He rules the kingdom of Judah, which is the Jerusalem is the capital. He said, it is not enough to try the patience of humans. Will you try the patience of my God? God is asking you to do this. Why are you not agreeing to it? It's God's will. But okay, if you do not want to listen, we know that you don't want to listen. You don't want to hear God's will. Now, therefore, the Lord Himself, will give you a sign. The virgin will conceive. A virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and will call him Emmanuel. which is God with us. So if let's say that God, the king of Damascus and the king of Israel are uniting, these two big forces are uniting and they are in coalition. Now the kingdom of Judah is afraid. The southern kingdom is alone. Nobody is with them, but God will give them a companion. Do not worry about anything. It's a message also to those who always fear about the big enemies. Now, as we have as Christians, we always fear about Satan. We always give an importance to Satan and other things, other enemies we have. The big ones, Satan is the biggest one. We always give importance to them. But here God is telling the kingdom of Judah that he is with them. To not be afraid, because God will protect them. And he will give them a sign that he is with them, definitely. Now, kingdom of Judah might ask themselves, what do you have done during this turmoil? When they learned eventually the plan of king of Damascus and the king of Israel to invade Judah, they must have been terrified. They must have been saying that, because we sinned and we did a lot of iniquities against God, and and because of the kings that that ruled the kingdom of Judah, that were worshipping statues and were worshipping other gods, and they became very far from God of Israel. They distanced themselves from God, so they must have thought that God is punishing them, and rightly so, because these people have not been close to God, and they have never even thought about and they've been very far from God, and it's now time to to bring them to an account. That's what must have been thought. But when the prophet Isaiah is saying this, that God is with you, he's telling them again that God will save them from the problems you have, because the biggest problem we have is the problem of sin. Isaiah is telling them that the problem is not king of Ahaz, the king of Damascus, and the king of the northern kingdom, the king of Israel. The problem is the sin itself. And here God is assuring Judah that he is with them, and he will bring from the descendants of Judah, from the descendants of David, Emmanuel, who will save them, who is with them. God with us, who is God himself, but he is with them and will save them from the biggest problem. So they do not need to worry about anything else. So that is a preparation for the coming of the Messiah. One of the preparations of a foretold story of the birth of the Messiah in the book of Isaiah, almost 700 years before the birth of Christ. Thank you for listening to this episode. Next episode, we will dig in straight to the story of the birth of Christ.